Social media influencers today are often at the forefront of society. They're on the internet, in the news, sometimes even in movies and TV. They wear the coolest outfits, use the latest technology, and lead an exciting, maybe even adventurous lifestyle. Most people, and especially young people, tend to think that they're the epitome of cool culture, having a lifestyle that anyone would be jealous of. But before TikTok dances and influencer apology videos, there was a kind of different model for the cool person instead. They had just as cool of outfits, used the latest and greatest technology, and led exciting, adventurous, and even dangerous lifestyles. I'm of course talking about secret agents and super spies. Especially around the early 2000s, spies were the coolest profession most kids and people in general could think of. Sure, pop stars or whatever Paris Hilton counts as were also cool, but everyone knows that the real job to aspire for, the lifestyle to fantasize about, and the undercover, popular crowd all fell under the world of spies. But maybe I should mention that most people that thought spies were cool didn't want to be actual spies. I, for one, thought Carmen from Spy Kids was really awesome and wanted to be like her, not like some Cold War-era government spy that had to deal in espionage and face actual danger. Despite the older traditional spies being the blueprint for the gadgety, tech-driven phenomenon of later years, they were mostly left as that, just an inspiration. Danger for most people is only as fun as it is easy to get out of. In movies and media where a secret agent is battling against supervillains, we as the audience know that they're with the good guys and that for the most part they'll always come out on top. I would argue that's most of the appeal as far as spies go. It's action and adventure with a guarantee of safety. But it's not safe because it's baby mode, but because there's cool gear and gadgets and disguises to outsmart the enemy with. It's the perfect setup for anyone who likes the idea of action men like John Wick, but that doesn't actually want to get beat up while they're adventuring. Most of the spy media I grew up with was marketed to or made for kids too, so there was even more of an emphasis on just the cool missions and special spy privileges and none of the scary stuff. Totally Spies and Kim Possible were two kids shows that really pushed the sometimes campy nature of secret agents, but in the most appealing ways possible. Grappling hooks and cargo pants? Yeah, I want in. Neon, multicolored latex suits and lipstick lasers? I want in even more. But you can't just jump right into being a secret agent. There's a lot that goes into being able to backflip away from enemies and avoiding catching your hair on fire with your different laser-based technology. One of the first parts of being a secret agent is going undercover. That's why they're secret. If you don't wear all black or a tuxedo or some kind of disguise to blend in, then you won't be able to complete your mission and then the whole world will explode, or something like that. Clearly, some takes on the super spy took some creative liberties with this, but in general, if you want to save the world, you have to look the traditional part. When I think of spy outfits and disguises, one of the first things I think of is this old Kim Possible game that used to be on DisneyChannel.com, which I'd also like to say has since been converted into DisneyNow.com and seems way less cool, but that's besides the point. The Kim Possible game was called Shopping Avenger, and you played as Kim, a teenager that's also secretly a secret agent, running through the mall and picking up the right outfit for the mission picked at the start. The premise and gameplay are pretty simple, but it really drives home the importance of dressing for success while on a secret mission, especially since if you end up choosing the wrong items to wear, like a clown wig, lampshade, or burger shop sign, you'll end up getting just straight up insulted by the villains for dressing like a big dummy. This really made me feel so defeated as a kid when they'd make fun of me. Didn't they know how hard the controls of this game were? You try front flipping onto a second-story shelf in the middle of the mall just to try and buy some shoes, Shigo. Clearly, I still have some reserved feelings about this. Despite the game and some of the other outliers there are for spy outfits, a lot of depictions of spies and secret agents are usually shown wearing all black, probably with a black beanie on for extra added effect, or some kind of tuxedo. I guess the black is supposed to help them blend into the background or be less visible, but the tuxedo seems sort of silly when it's taken out of the context of its original inspiration of James Bond and others like him. Secret agents, especially those that are elite and top of their class, do tend to spend time around other fancily dressed people, I guess, but the suits and ties start to feel more out of place when children and penguins start wearing them in the more kid-friendly spy media. Though I do have to say, the fancy suits and dresses definitely added even more to the cool factor of being a spy. That's probably like 20% of the appeal even. You get to go on missions and beat bad guys, but that wouldn't be nearly as fun if you didn't get to look this cool while doing it. Even the characters like Ron from Kim Possible or Junie from Spy Kids, these sort of nerdy guys that serve as the antithesis of cool guy secret agents, so that the other characters seem even more impressive by comparison, eventually get their time to shine wearing their tuxes or other suave outfits, to highlight the fact that looking the part is half the fun, and also that being a spy kind of instantly makes you more awesome. But more than the sick outfits, everyone knows that the real thing that makes or breaks a spy is, of course, the gadgets. While other heroes have things like nunchucks or straight up guns, spies tend to come better prepared to each situation with an array of gadgets, which I think is the perfect word to describe the kind of gimmicky, technologically advanced, and usually mostly impractical devices that equip a secret agent to deal with any situation. From Kim Possible's communicator that looked like a glorified Game Boy Color, to the hair clips that are secretly mini buzzsaws in Totally Spies, to even Freddy's Spy Pie in iCarly, spy gadgets come in every design for any purpose and are a lot of times just as goofy as they are useful. They tend to be almost needlessly disguised just for the novelty of the item and mostly unrealistic, but dang it if I still didn't want every spy gadget that I ever did see. Toy companies must have known that I and tons of other kids felt this way too, because even more than there were movie and TV depictions of spies and all their gadgets, there were toy companies capitalizing on the trend and making tons of different semi-useless but still so enticing products based on them. There is a lot of variety when it comes to spy toys, but most of these gadgets tend to have the same sort of feel and look to them, which I think most closely resembles what I'd call the gamer aesthetic. Black and red, sharp edges, and definitely overpriced and overhyped for what they are. But did any of that stop me and everyone else from asking my parents to buy me things like a Spy X light hand that was way less efficient than just a regular flashlight? Of course not. Mundane items like walkie-talkies, watches, glasses, and even just pens all got the spy treatment overhaul, and even though it usually only made them look cooler instead of function any differently, they still definitely hit their marks. The 90s to early 2000s were an interesting time for toys in general, where there was this overall shift to more over-the-top gimmicks and novelty pieces, and especially to more toys with electronic and digital-based elements. Toys that were previously all plastic now had more lights, sounds, screens, and electronics that could probably be seen through translucent casing. Again, these new features for the most part didn't really add much beyond cosmetics, but like we covered, just looking like a spy was a big part of the cool factor. Using some epic spy gadget glasses was way more fun than wearing boring normal people glasses, and of course, contributed to really looking the part. These toys carried a trend of similar toys and gimmicks into other non-spy related products too. During the Scholastic Book Fair one year, I of course didn't want to buy books, but wanted to buy this really cool looking device that I saw in the catalog instead. This was during the height of the Nintendo DS, so even though I had a real DS at home, I was still drawn to this blue, plasticky pocket organizer that came with a stylus, kind of like a knockoff Palm Pilot for kids, if anyone remembers those. It had nothing to do with spies or secret agents, but it was still centered around the fact that it had a digital element and a cool shape and design. It made me feel so in control and tech savvy and, I guess, organized, that it still gave the same sort of effect of all of the other spy gadget toys that were out there. I also had this Scooby-Doo motion detector that would move its head and talk in Scooby's voice to let you know if anyone walked by, calling them intruders. Despite being kind of terrified of this thing because I thought Scooby was always watching me, and the red blinking light on his collar was oddly horrifying, it also followed that same formula of spy gear, something tech-based and mostly impractical to keep you prepared for bad guys or something. There was also invisible ink, booklets full of secret codes, password-protected electronic journals. I mean, what were all of these toy companies expecting children to need to hide so badly? After being suited up in the right spy gear, now wearing the best clothes with pockets full of gadgets, the time has finally arrived for the best super spies to go on their first mission. It'll probably be something highly classified and top secret, like taking down a shady organization of bad guys or being virtually transported into a video game. But no matter where a spy's mission takes them, there's sure to be lots of action and adventure. To sneak into whatever off-limits area needs to be broken into, spies will obviously wear their all-black outfits or tuxedos, but will also probably climb up something, crawl through some air vents, or rappel down from the ceiling through a conveniently placed skylight. Then there will probably be a fair amount of hacking or otherwise using computers to get where they need to go. This is where interactive holograms and eye-scanning security measures will be bested by some 12-year-old with a laptop and his excessive typing. But of course, randomly pressing a bunch of keys on a keyboard can only get you so far, so there will probably come a point in the adventure where the top-tier security system kicks back in, and this is where we get such iconic spy scenes as characters parkouring through meticulous bad guy obstacle courses, or of course, limboing through a cat's cradle of red security lasers. There might be a final chase or throwdown with the bad guys, but of course, the spies tend to win in the end because they're the good guys. The movie Catch That Kid with Corbin Bleu and Kristen Stewart has pretty much every secret agent element you could ever want out of a super spy movie. It's actually not even about spies at all, but about some kids trying to rob a bank, but it still so perfectly represents the era that I just had to mention it. While toys can be made of different spy gadgets, it's not quite as easy to create something for kids to experience the type of secret missions that they see in movies and TV. This is where Kim Possible's Shopping Avenger and others like it that are a little more complex come in to give spy fanatics the option to go on their own secret agent adventure. Poptropica, an online 2000s game that actually still exists to this day, had an area of the game called Spy Island dedicated to going undercover and adventuring on your own secret spy mission. I think Poptropica did a pretty decent job at including all of the different aspects of the spy experience, from disguises and gadgets to danger and bad guys. I liked Spy Island, but I personally spent way more time playing on Club Penguin in general and much preferred the PSA, the Penguin Secret Agency. When it was first introduced, a Club Penguin account had to be at least 30 days old before you could join the PSA, which felt like forever as a kid. So when I could finally become a Penguin secret agent, it felt like the most elite and coveted experience ever. This minigame style was more point and click than Poptropica, but it was still so fun. I felt like the coolest penguin ever, using my spy phone and other high-tech mid-2000s era gadgets, decoding messages and saving the day. I even had a special PSA game for the DS that had even more missions and a more in-depth plot. There was something about being part of the EPF, that's Elite Penguin Force for all of you civilians, through the technology of a Nintendo DS that made it feel extra real and important, especially seeing as the DS felt almost gadgety on its own. Club Penguin has been shut down since 2017, and there are a few fan-made reworkings of the original game that pop up here and there, but nothing will beat the feeling of finally becoming a secret agent after a grueling 30 days, and talking about all the missions you'd go on with your friends at school. Yeah, sorry Gary, I probably didn't keep things as classified as I should have. While spy-themed games could be seen as educational, encouraging curiosity and adventurous learning, and with toy-based gadgets having the benefit of increasing children's exploration of their surroundings and spatial awareness, I think that at the end of the day, spy stuff mostly existed and still exists today as just a way to capitalize on the phenomenon more than being any kind of learning tools. But that's not to say that the existence of all of these games and toys and everything spy-related is all bad just because of capitalism. I definitely think that while some of the spy gadgets are a little lackluster, the marketing of the phenomenon turned this interest in secret agents and adventuring into an even bigger and more fun point in history that broke the mold of classic children's interests like superheroes and Barbies. Of course, there's nothing wrong with superheroes and Barbies, but backflipping through some precariously placed red lasers just seems way cooler than like swinging a magic hammer or whatever. I'm joking. Mostly. There are still plenty of spy toys, games, and movies that exist today, but I'd argue that kids aren't as feral for it the way they were back when the original Spy Kids were part of the popular crowd. With toy brands like Spy Ninjas, that's made by these two content farmers that always edit their pictures so that their eyes are bigger for some reason, and other content farms like 5 Minute Crafts and Troom Troom creating their own spy-based videos, it's clear to me that these modern imitators can never fully match the kind of goofy yet still so fun era of spy and secret agent stuff from back in the day. Hopefully other people can relate and miss the old spy stuff too, and after seeing this video will stop giving me weird looks when they catch me playing my copy of the Club Penguin DS game after all of these years.